We are now recording.
Yeah.
Lotte, fantastic. So you are no a master trainer, you are a laughter ambassador, and you are a speaker at the Antalya Laughter Yoga Conference in April. So how fantastic to be having this conversation with you.
I know it's about time, isn't it, Joe? And thank you so much for asking me to speak with you here on the Joy interviews,
No, it's fantastic.
the global and the Antalya conference interviews.
It's going to be going to be amazing because the title, no, the theme of the conference in Antalya is no unleashing the joy within, and so
Yeah.
that leads very much into the first question, which is no, what is joy to you? What does joy mean to you?
That's a really good question to ask, and I knew you were going to ask it. But honestly, joy to me is, it's a variety of things that come together and create this peaceful way of being. And it's how do you define it? Because for me, it really is about being at peace and also being in the flow, which means, of course, at the end of the day, you need to let go of what doesn't serve you anymore.
Yeah,
And I, for many, many years, I've done my best. You know, we always do our best, don't we? What is that? 25 years ago, I came across the Barefoot Doctor, who I know that you know
yes,
or knew back then, yeah.
yeah,
And I read one of his books, and it's one of my go-to books, and it's about following the Tao. And the
yes,
Tao is just the way of life, being in the flow of life and flowing in that way. And for me, that's where I feel most joyful, when nothing is kind of getting in the way of being. And
yeah,
to be fair, it's whatever gets in the way of being, that's typically me, isn't it? That's ourselves, isn't it? We're creating these obstacles and
yeah,
dramas in our heads, and it just escalates outside of us. And that's what creates the opposite of joy. Mm.
yes,
I
yes.
don't know if any of what I say makes sense or
Start, you said you made the lovely comment about no about no, experiencing peace and peacefulness.
yeah,
Um, and no, and when we flow, we can experience that sense of peace, and that's what you
yeah.
mentioned. Um,
Mm,
I'd forgotten that no, that you'll have that no, early connection with the Barefoot Doctor through his books. Um, um, how fantastic! But it is.
I know. Do you know what? I just, when I saw that you wrote the book, or he wrote your part of your book, and so on, I was just so excited, because he's one of the people I followed. And it's so sad when he passed away, but it's the way of life as well, isn't it? And
Yes,
that's where it's just acceptance, isn't it? Acceptance and being in the flow and so on. But
yes,
and this was through my very early crystal teacher, Philip Hermit, who actually introduced me to the books of Barefoot Doctor on the Tao, and how to live in that flow and at peace with not just yourself, but with everybody else. But at the end of the day, it starts with yourself, doesn't it?
yes. And
Mm.
therefore, question number two is, how important is this to you?
Oh, super important. Is it like on a scale from 1 to 10, or what is it? I mean, that would be way beyond 10, of course,
Yeah,
but yeah, yeah.
yes,
I think the opposite of joy and equilibrium and all that is that when you're not experiencing it, you're almost in a constant argument with yourself. That's also when you're both physical and mental health start deteriorating. And I
yeah,
think we can do a lot for ourselves to keep out of that mode where we just become grumpy and
yeah,
ill and
yeah,
deteriorate, and so not good for us.
yes,
Mm,
yes. Which you all know, all extremely, would show how important it is to have that nice connection with flow, with the Tao
yeah.
you mentioned. So,
Yeah.
really nicely. So, what's your top tip, or what are your top tips for maintaining this sort of nice connection? Um,
Do you know what? One of the things is, don't take yourself too seriously. That's the root of a lot of bad stuff going on inside your mind and then rippling into your body. And so don't take yourself too seriously. And if all you need to do is just look in the mirror and go, ha, 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 do it, just do it. Because it takes away that edge and or the seriousness. And you know what? I spent so many years being so self-important and so on in my corporate life and so on. And what did it get me? Well, it got me to laughter in the end. It's a good thing.
Yes. That was
Yeah,
your Tao. That was your Tao. That was your way.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I just think, take yourself less seriously and let go of stuff that you can't change. It's a really good, I can't remember the exact quote, but it's something about if you can change things, do it. But if you can't change things, just let it go. Because what are you going to get hung up about when you can't do anything about it? Do you
very
know?
nice. Yes, yes.
What's your tip?
Um,
I know it's not you.
well, I find be here now. Practice being
Yeah,
here now.
yeah, yeah,
And that, that has been so very helpful.
yeah.
Um, uh, but the whole,
I really agree with you on that being present in the moment. And
yeah,
I'm not just talking about mindfulness. Mindfulness is a practice and so on, but it's also a way of being, but it's that thing about just being present and not to be up in your head all the time, but really experience things. And I know the way you practice things and your body movement and so on is all about getting into your body and out of your head and so on. I
yeah,
don't know if that's
yeah.
exactly what it is, but you know.
Um, well, it's great. It's great. And it's fantastic that you'll be sharing this vibe in the Antalya conference in April. Um,
Thank you.
and Lottie, thank you very, very much for taking the time for this fantastic conversation. Thank you very
Oh,
much.
thank you. Oh, thank you, Joe. It was about time. I don't mean that in a bad way. I really don't. I'm really happy to speak with you and so nice to just sit here and chat. So thank you so much.
Very nice. Very nice.